Good morning, everybody. I'm Sharon Mundia, and you're watching Living with S. Now, if you're looking behind me and trying to be like, what is that behind her? I want that. I want that in my house. Well, you're in luck because today's show is all about home decor. And we are at Goody's African Interiors at Viking House. And we're about to speak to the lady who created it 10 years ago. This year, it's going to be 10 years ago. That's Goody Odhiambo. And she deals with African contemporary home decor and furnishings. And I can see a little bit of jewelry here and accessories too. So you're an all-rounder creative, aren't you, Goody?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having us.
You're welcome. I'm glad to host you.
Oh, it's so exciting. I'm just like picking out things and trying to be like, how do I incorporate that? How am I going to get that? And I guess that's why we're here, so that you can also help make sense of that, how to incorporate certain things into our homes. But before we even dive into home decor, of course, I'm going to ask you a little bit about like how you got into home decor and furnishings.
My background is in design.
Okay.
I studied graphic design, but what pushed me into what I'm doing now, which is a passion of mine, is the love of.
Oh.
Because I like working with people. I loved the work that people did by their hands, but I was seeing that there was a gap, and I thought there is a different world out here working with artisans as opposed to working in a corporate world where you're in advertising, marketing as a graphic designer. And this is how I went into now more social impact work, working with the artisans one-on-one, getting to know them, and also just being proud to be a Kenyan and to be able to see how we can represent work and being used by our own people in our own country.
Right. So was your house like a trial of sorts? Was it your guinea pig? Like, let me test this. Let me see how this looks. Like when people walked into your home, were they like, oh, you've got to start selling this stuff. Otherwise, I'm just going to walk out with like a cushion, a rug, chandelier.
I was always brought up in a nice environment, and I've always loved beautiful things. Okay. So it was a part of me. But diving in to do it as a business I just threw myself right in and did it. I didn't even really have a clue of what I wanted to do.
Right.
But as I started off the business, it just formed itself and created itself to be something that even I didn't know.
Oh, wow.
And 10 years on, I think it's still turning and changing to be its own entity. I'm just walking with it and feeling my way through it.
What would you say was the moment at which you thought, I'm going to jump in? Because you said that you did mention that you were in the corporate world and advertising. So what was the point at which you knew that it was the right time for you to sort of abandon that life to some extent and jump into this new unknown world? At least at the time it was unknown.
I hated working for people.
So you
being
wanted to be your own boss.
Yes, being employed and being directed and just doing things that I'm directed to do, I thought I can form my own path in life and I can move on and do what I really like and decide and blame myself if things went wrong. So I was not afraid. I said, this is a path I want to follow, but I'm in charge of my own path. And that's how I started this.
So you've mentioned that the business has evolved, and I'm curious what it looked like when you first started. What pieces did you have in here, and what was your intention when you first opened Goody's African Interiors?
Originally, we started as a gift store.
Oh.
And that's
so
why
it's not really home decor.
Not really home decor. I think it was at the back of my mind, but we started as a gift store.
So what would you sell?
So we sold small gifts, so packaged them well. We put things in baskets. We made notebooks, all sorts of things. Okay. And then we saw that there was a gap in the products that people were making. The quality was not good. The products were the same. There was no creativity in what people were making. And so I decided to start working with the artisans to help them to create different things that stand out. So it's not your usual thing that you will get just anywhere. It was a good find.
Right. And would you say that was the turning point of your business? Or, when you decided to not just sell.
Explore.
Right.
Yeah, and then people started asking us, could you make this? And so it's more client based in that we talk and listen to what our clients want.
Okay.
They actually guide us to make things for them.
Great. So you've mentioned working with artisans, and that a big part of what you do revolves around, making some social impact and that you are empowering these artisans. Can you take me through the steps of what it takes to go from A to Z, from concept to having it sitting on your shelves?
So in terms of that, sometimes you find an artisan has already created an item.
Okay.
It might not be good. They might make a basket and they don't have a purpose for it. So we're finding that a lot of the artists make things that are not usable. So they have to be things that you can use around your house. If it's a basket, you could use it as a laundry basket. You could use it as a sort-out basket. You could use it as a fruit basket. So there are very many different ways of you can use the basket. So it's not only the usual traditional way of using a basket, but we're finding ways that you could create a table out of a basket. You could create a chair out of a basket. So you really have to think outside the box and find different ways of making it, because not everybody's going to use a basket, but they could find other ways to use it.
So once you identify the why, which I think is so important, do you walk with them through the process? Do you guide them with like colors, textures, patterns, or do you let them create from that point?
We look at the patterns, we look at the textures, we look at the sizing. So in effect, we have a specification sheet, which will say for what purpose it is for, what colors are trending, what is not trending, if it's an item that we think could be changed, if it was a wooden sculpture, how can we change it into furniture? So we're looking at multifunctional items. So, or we could see an artisan has a skill and then use that skill somewhere else. So I have instances where I've had an artisan making sculptures and I've eventually moved them to making furniture. So they learn to believe in themselves. So making smaller items, moving to bigger items, and actually making more money for themselves, because furniture will sell better. The sculptures might not sell, but if we make furniture, then we can sell them better. More people need furniture and they've got a higher value.
So what would you say are some of the biggest hurdles that you had to jump over or overcome, challenges you've had to overcome in the past 10 years of running the store?
I think the first and most difficult thing for me and for most entrepreneurs is access to finance. Everything costs money, and when you're in art, nobody really believes that you have collateral to be able to pay that money. So everybody's asking you, what can you give me back? Because it's a creative aspect of something. People feel there's no value to it. And so to get somebody to believe that this is actually a business where you can earn and pay your living out of it is very, very difficult. So being able to believe in ourselves and just keep on fighting for 10 years. Actually, I'm looking back and I'm thinking, wow, 10 years of doing this, it feels like, just digging through. But now it looks like 10 years, it looks like something that we've really done well.
Yeah. And how do you stand out? Because there's also a lot of artisans or stores that also try to come up with, their own designs, and whether it's in the beadwork or it's in the pattern. How do you make sure that your pieces have a unique, is that of concern at all as you're going through the process?
That's very important. And mostly, I think you have to be reliable.
Okay.
In quality, standards have to be really good because in most cases, artisans do not have a base where they work from. So our customers know where to find us. They know that if they buy something from us, if it goes wrong, we will change it. We have that assurance for them. So we try our best that whatever we do has to be perfect. So perfection is one of the things that we go for. Even the artisans that we work with, we have reliability on time limits. When we say we'll take an order for 2 weeks, we have to deliver in 2 weeks. And that is very important. And also not cutting shortcuts in using poor quality materials, because that eventually shows. because your customer will eventually know that you have used substandard materials.
Yeah, and you've got to be consistent, huh? With your story and with your promise, rather. About the workshops that you run, the training programs.
So we work with mainly women, not necessarily because that's where my focus is, but somehow I think they're more driven, and they ask and they keep on asking, we need this and we need that. They're very demanding.
I love that. So I'm flipping my hair that's not even there, but hey,
yeah,
okay.
Because women tend to be very open-minded. They can talk about the issues that they're facing. We have a product, we don't know the market, we don't know how to sell it, how can you help us? They're not ashamed of asking. So when they come to me, eventually, sometimes we move into the villages and we start working with community groups, because also something that we're trying to work on is scaling up on the production. At the moment, everybody says Kenyan products are expensive, but it's because the volumes are not high. So slowly we are building up on capacity, training them on quality, being able to repeat maybe 20 times and keeping the standards the same, and not changing on quality, not changing on the design, and just be consistent. As we've talked about running the shop, we have to be consistent. So we're scaling up on production, and I think the more my fellow Kenyans use our own products, the cheaper the products will become. One woman will take maybe 3 or 4 days to make a basket. How much is it worth for her to sell that basket for? Right. So the more we buy, the more we make, the cheaper it will become for everybody. And it's nice now that we don't have the plastics.
Right.
So we're selling more baskets.
Yeah.
So that's good for sustainability.
And I think there's also an awareness and a kind of a renewed sense of pride in showcasing our own and wearing our own and buying our own. I think there's still room to grow, but I think there is that kind of energy right now, which I'm all here for. So I'm curious, how do you know which artisan to go for? How do you know that they are the right person to work with, or how do you know what products to go for as well?
I'm always scouting for products.
Okay.
Everywhere I go, I think I think my eye has become a magnet for looking for good products. So there are artists.
So you can't switch it off,
I can't switch it off. So it's like people, when you meet somebody, you know, oh, I like that person.
Right.
So it's more soul work. So you meet somebody, and a product can be a soul, because an artist is expressing themselves, what they feel, how they feel. So these expressions actually talk to me, and I can think, all right, I like that, and I think we can walk this journey and change this product to eventually be one of our best-selling products. And also the willingness for the artisan to talk, and we are able to criticize. I think if you're a creative, you have to take criticism.
Which is hard.
Which is very hard.
You're like, don't tell me how to create.
Yeah.
Don't tell me how to, and this is kind of, it almost feels like a prayer, a spiritual journey. It's like you're taking it out, and so it can be hard, but I guess it is important, like in any craft, to take.
So it's been also one of the challenges that I've had, is being able to talk to the artisans to create work that's different.
Okay.
Such as some of it they've done for many years. Some of them say, we've done this for many years. Who do you think you are? Who, that we can change? But the world is constantly changing. The world has become digital. The world is one. So you find that everything we do has to conform with the styles, fashion, the trends that are going on. And if we don't change, then there's no point of us doing the products that we're making.
Do you ever find yourself getting that design itch of wanting to create? And if so, are any of these pieces Goodies work, like Goodies crafts?
I'm constantly itching.
Really? But do you actually create?
Yes, I do create.
Oh, really?
Yes, I do create.
So, like, I guess you'll show us which pieces, huh?